people going, we've kind of seen various renditions of that, even with messaging. Ultimately, need a plan of action and some kind of execution with specifics. I'm curious for you, what does that look like? What does protecting the vote at national level look like? If you were to get into power, what does sort of economic independence look like? And maybe if you can provide, I don't know, any policies you have in mind, any anecdotal evidence, or just any sort of specific plans that you actually have in mind. Once, you know, at some point, once you're done, you're preaching to the choir, and then you execute. So I'm curious what that execution looks like for you.
Thank you very much. I'll take it that those are two questions. One, how we plan to protect the vote at the national level, and our basic policy, what we plan to do when we take power. Not if, but when. First of all, we have tried it in the past, like you saw in this video, and many other happenings that have not been on camera, to protect the vote, well knowing that the regime back home is a master at vote rigging, is to sensitize the public. This is not a job for only the politicians or the leaders, but the entire society. We have tried it in Chadondo East, where I was running for parliament, and we've tried it in 5 other by-elections. Sensitizing people and people taking charge of guarding their vote has always been our answer. While we know that President Museveni and his regime continues to use the military, still our effort has been to galvanize the people. But this time, to make it at a national level, we have called for unity, to make sure all of us are the forces of change. And by forces of change, I mean all opposition political parties, the civil society organizations that are advocating for change. We are planning to come together. We are in advanced stages of our initiative of bringing all forces of change together. We might not certainly bring 100% of them, but I'm sure if we manage to come substantially together, we'll be able to get the vote, and yes, we will win and we'll be announced winners. Now, what happens when we take power? When I am president of Uganda, there's so many things that we intend to change, but first, we want to put an end to gun rule and to elevate the voice of the people. We want it to be like all other countries where the will of the people reigns supreme, where leaders are truly servants of the people, and these people of the country are the bosses. We want to reinvent the rule of law and elevate the observation of human rights, because that has been a challenge, and even myself and many other leaders that I work with have been victims of that, so that we want to change. We want to change our education system. You notice that back in Uganda, education in a great way is training only employees, is training job seekers and not job creators. We want to empower our education system. If I'm to talk a little deeply about our education, I envision 3 A's in our education. The academics, the arts, and the athletics. And we want to give them equal attention, because I'm personally not an academic, but it is the arts that transformed my life. And there's so many youths out there that are not necessarily academics in the ghetto, but they could transform not only themselves, but their communities through the arts or the athletics. You notice that Ugandans are extraordinarily talented in the athletics. So if we put a touch of education and polish our athletics, it would be amazing. We want to change our healthcare system. It disturbs me so much to see us lose 19 women every day giving birth. It puzzles me so much to see us lose more than 300 children every day under the age of 5 dying. You know, we can stop that. We can invest in our healthcare system, just as per the Abuja Declaration that was pushing for the elevation of the health budget. We want, of course, well knowing that I come from a country called the Pearl of Africa, the most beautiful part of Africa. Not only beautiful, but fertile. We can potentially be the food basket of the entire region if we invest in our agriculture and research enough about it. And that also includes our revising our land policy to see that we empower people to invest realistically in mechanized agriculture. Right now, as we speak, those that rule over us have literally taken over the land of the people. There are massive land evictions, while the family of the president and those hangers on around the president own land way in their miles. We are an endowed country. We are rich, I must say. We got oil, we got minerals. We want to have policies that focus the benefit of those natural resources of the country to benefit. And finally, and very importantly, because we live in a deeply, deeply divided country along tribal lines, along religious lines, along class and income, along political leanings, we want to initiate a truth and reconciliation initiative to make sure we bring our nation together, our young nation together, so that we have a foundation of an everlasting stability and peace as a country.
Excuse me. You let somebody else go first.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Hi. So, Jeremy.
Wow.
My name is Paul Patanga. I came to the US last year to do a master's program. I come from Kisoro. And I have just two questions. One question is, for the last elections, I've been traveling from Kampala to go to Kisoro to vote for the position, right? And I worry because at the moment what we tend to see is that there is no coordination amongst the opposition. That's my impression that's there. And most of us, including young people that I see, have sort of lost hope in terms of participating in voting, because you vote and something else happens. So what confidence can we get if we are to think about, going through the system, like the real electoral system? We have confidence that actually we can change things back in the country. That's one. Two, when I came here in the US, one of the questions that I've struggled to answer is this question of, do you plan to go back home? Like all my friends, people that I come across, ask this question, do you actually plan to go back? It's a big puzzling question for me in terms of looking at the future. Do I have a Uganda that I can be proud of? Do I have an opportunity to go back and get a job? Do I have an opportunity to actually get what is worth a graduate of Yale University when I get it? So I think it's a big question, not just for young people that are here, but also even young people that are back home. They have actual opportunities to grow and flourish back in the country.
Thank you very much. You see, I told you Ugandans are smart. They ask very interesting questions. These are two questions. One is about coordination and whether you will come back to Uganda. I would love to ask you that question when we're out of this room. Now, about the coordination, it's very true we didn't have enough coordination in the beginning. But like you said, you've been a few months away from Uganda. Allow me to bring you up to speed. Our initial stage was to wake up the people, to open their eyes to the reality, because many of our brothers and sisters in Uganda were actually slaves in their own country, and they could not see that. By now, I'm glad to inform you that the vast majority of Ugandans have their eyes open. About coordination, we a few months ago unveiled our national coordinators. We continue to unveil coordinators on district level up to constituency level. We want to have coordinators not only up to village level, but up to household level. Recently, we launched a students movement because the students themselves in Uganda also have their own constituency. We launched a women's movement, and they're all working well because we are working from different fronts. We are of the vision that by the time we get to elections, we have coordination in every part of the country, and that would be the most effective way of, protecting the vote and making sure the voice of the people reigns supreme. Now, about if a graduate of Yale University is going to come back home to a Uganda that is misgoverned, to a Uganda where there's no respect for human rights and the rule of law, to a Uganda where corruption is the order of the day, to a Uganda where there's no free speech, no freedom of expression, no freedom of association. That's a question that you and I as Ugandans must answer, and you must answer it practically. Man, I'm an artist, a superstar in Uganda that is not allowed to perform. The Constitution guarantees my fundamental rights to earn a living, but I cannot, and we have to fix that, me and you. So that's a question for us to answer. I would say that the United States, Europe, and indeed many other developed countries are filled with our resourceful people that would help transform the destiny of Uganda. But we can only do that if we decide to get involved. So yes, many professionals are coming back home, many are joining us in the struggle, many are doing what they can do in the countries where they are. But we know that ultimately, after we overcome this, our mission is to repatriate all of you resourceful people so we can work together and build a country that we shall all be proud of.
Yes.
Hi, thank you for being here. My name is Nadira, and I'm a senior at Yale. You earlier said it's not a question of if, but when. And what makes you think that this election is going to be different from last ones? And also, what makes you think that your president is going to step down, even if it's a fair election and someone else wins?
Well, first and foremost, it's not an issue of the president stepping down. It's an issue of the voice of people being louder and more assertive than the force of the guns and individual power of the president. Now, what is going to make this election different? First of all, allow me to point out the main different land-shifting factors. Like never before, President Museveni has never faced a challenge from our generation. Uganda is a country that has more than 80% of its population under the age of 30, and yes, 85% under the age of 35. We are the youngest population in the world, and not only young, but more connected and more dynamic. We are more united than ever before. We've always been divided along tribes and all that I've talked about, but that's the older generation, not our generation. Our generation is more united by the challenges that we go through every day, that don't care of your tribe or your gender. We all face it the same. And yes, we're more united by the aspirations that we have as a generation. So we believe that there is going to be a massively different style of voting. We have for close to a year now been calling upon Ugandans to massively register, because we believe that the only way we are going to win this fight is by knockout. And by knockout I mean we want to overwhelm President Museveni. Since we started advocating for Ugandans, especially young people, to get involved and to register as voters, a record 3 million people have registered, new voters have registered, and many continue to register. So we believe that by 2021, the voters that will have registered alone will be overwhelming, and that is going to substantially change the dynamics of the election. So we believe that and many other factors are going to cause the change that we want. I am going to represent my generation, which generation has been effectively mobilized to look at things the way they are, to get involved themselves, and yes, to seek 21st century solutions for 21st century problems by 21st century people, which is none but ourselves. Now, about whether President Museveni will concede defeat or not, we wait to cross that bridge when we get there.
All those questions, thank you.
one day you may be president, but right now I'd like to invite my favorite president up to give you thanks.